But first and foremost, thank you so much for joining our Twitch space. We're going to be able to talk about everything zkSync 2.0. We're talking about the network, zkSync, talking about wallets with Argent. We're going to be talking DeFi with SyncSwap and also NFTs with Mint Square. So it's going to be something for everyone. So now let's get into the introductions. So I think the first person to do an introduction should be Matthew of Argent.
Hi there. Thanks everyone for joining. Really excited for this. My name is Matthew. I lead strategy and operations for Argent. Argent is a self-custody wallet focused on Ethereum, and within that focused on zk rollups only. So we've built the first wallets for zkSync and then also for Starknet. We want to prove that self-custody can be bigger than FTX, Coinbase, Binance combined. We believe only self-custody can unleash the full potential of crypto, but it has to be much easier to use and much more secure. So that's what we set out to create with Argent.
Thank you very much for that. Lucas from Mint Square, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Lucas from Mint Square here. Thank you for having us. So Mint Square, we are an NFT marketplace for zk rollups. So basically, we are live on zkSync 2.0 testnet. So basically, on Mint Square, you can mint, you can buy and sell NFTs. Basically, we are an open marketplace on zkSync 2.0. Every ERC 721, ERC 1155 contracts, we will index and is tradable on Mint Square. Basically, you by trading zk rollups, you get the security of Ethereum. At the same time, you get fast transaction as well as a low transaction fee.
Brilliant, thank you. And Anthony, can you give us an introduction into who you are and a little introduction into zkSync 2.0 for those who don't know anything about it?
Yes, of course. Thank you for the invitation to speak, and thank you to everyone for joining to listen about zkSync V2 and some of the interesting things going on in the ecosystem. Yeah, I'm Anthony Rose. I'm head of engineering at Matter Labs. I've been here for about 6 months now, building out zkSync. Version 2 of zkSync is a general purpose zero knowledge rollup. So essentially, this is we're building a trustless protocol that utilizes zero knowledge proofs to, as just mentioned, provide scalable, low cost transactions for Ethereum. So the zk EVM essentially is a virtual machine. It executes smart contracts in a way that's compatible with the zk computations. Users could deploy their smart contracts, originally written for layer 1, build their applications on top of this platform, and essentially we build these and generate these zk proofs, which are then verified on Ethereum. So yeah, EVM compatible execution environment, extending some of the principles for Ethereum, which I'm sure we'll talk a little bit, and providing the scaling environment for applications to build on top of.
Fantastic. That's a really good introduction, and I think that leads us on to our first question. zkSync, as you just discussed, is at the cutting edge of our industry, greater scalability, cheaper transactions, and much more. These are some of the more obvious benefits that we all know. But Anthony, what are some of the benefits of zkSync that is enabled with 2.0 that people don't know enough about?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I'd start with maybe even taking a step back from like the technical benefits, as it were, and really start talking a little bit about some of what I think makes our approach exciting, important, maybe even correct. So really at Matter Labs and with zkSync, we're really embracing the ethos of Ethereum. So, we believe deeply in the value of trustless security, the value of decentralization, the importance of being fully open source and, getting to a point where this is a genuinely community-owned protocol and there are multiple active contributions coming in across this community as we build this protocol together. So really for us, we're building this platform, we're building it in a way that we think is consistent with broadly the ethos of Ethereum. And, this is something that to us is extremely important and I definitely want to highlight. And really it's all about how do we provide a scaling solution without degrading security, without degrading decentralization. So, the values kind of inform a lot of the way that we approach thinking about the system from the sort of design perspective, from the, roll-up perspective. But there are like some really important things about the system that are probably worth highlighting in case anyone's not so familiar with exactly what we're doing. So version 2 is, EVM and Web3 compatible. So very importantly, and for us, like a big part of the design philosophy was we want to provide an environment in which porting applications written for layer 1 is essentially effortless, right? You shouldn't have to go and relearn the language. You shouldn't have to learn a bunch of new tooling as a developer to be able to work with the system. And we also, importantly, don't want people to have to go through the exercise of re-auditing code, right? Everyone who's been in this space a reasonable amount of time knows that, a lot of the Solidity and Viper best practices have been hard fought and won through, hundreds of millions of dollars of hacks. And really for us, being able to provide a platform on which security is kind of consistent with Ethereum is obviously extremely important design philosophy. So yeah, the tooling should be consistent. Your experience of using zkSync should be extremely consistent with using layer 1 directly. On benefit, more transactions per second, lower gas fees. But yeah, for us, there's a few other bits and pieces that are really important. The way that we've approached our compiler has been, I would say, extremely thoughtful. So we've chosen to use LLVM on the back end. So actually it opens up a lot of options for our future with respect to interesting extensions, for example, at the smart contract layer beyond what we're doing today with Solidity and Viper. Protocol layer, we've attempted to be very thoughtful about. There are places where we can make an opinionated to the protocol in order to support, in order to allow applications to flourish in a way that maybe is more difficult at layer one, given some of the design choices for Ethereum. I think like the canonical example we've got so far is account abstraction, which I'm sure we'll touch on a little bit later. But this is, for us, an important place where we can provide some value to the application layer. And really, I think this is a bet on, some of what will happen with respect to how we'll see applications evolve and really start to, 10x beyond the users that we're seeing on the system today. But yeah, broadly for us, like it's important to make it clear, like we're building an EVM compatible execution environment, should be very easy to use, should be very developer friendly, and being thoughtful about the protocol changes as we're kind of building the system. And obviously we're only a few months out, and we have the system live on the public testnet today, so people are very welcome to go deploy their applications, go try it out, and give us feedback.
Fantastic. Anthony, you touched on account abstraction. Could you also give us a quick TLDR on that for people who don't know what account abstraction is and what account abstraction enables?
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, of course. So in a nutshell, I would say like the thing that account abstraction enables is sort of the separation of like, the verification logic from so taking a step back. So with Ethereum today, you end up with this situation where a top-level account, like an EOA, is required to start certain transactions. I'm sure the explanation could be much longer from the users who are like, excited about this feature. But with account abstraction, you're essentially able to separate like the validity and the effect. So with Ethereum, you end up with this account abstraction model. It essentially allows a contract to be a top-level account that can pay fees and start a transaction execution in a way that's possible today at layer one.
Fantastic, thank you for that. And I hope for people who don't know about account abstraction, that's helped you out. And we're going to be doing a lot more on account abstraction in the future. So just keep an eye out and we'll be doing more on that. So we've just heard about some of the exciting things made possible by zkSync. And that leads us into our next question. So if you're a DApp building a game that uses NFTs or you're an artist, why would you choose zkSync over other scaling alternatives? And I think Lucas at Mint Square, you'll be the best person to answer this question.
Sure. So I think as a game and as also a creators, the number one thing that you want to focus on is really on your users to create a engaging and fun gameplay, as well as to bring utility to your community. And I think as a developer, you want an environment where it's as fair as possible. So I think what zkSync 2.0 allows is that the same contracts that you have on Solidity, be it ERC 721 or it's your staking contract, you can deploy it the same way, deploy it to zkSync 2.0 and give the same functionality to your users. And of course, with the easy to deploy on 2.0, you also get the benefit of security of Ethereum through zk rollups, as well as your users will benefit from the low fees as well as the fast transaction. So I think it's really the best of both worlds as well. And this allows applications and also NFT collections to really focus on your users from then.
Fantastic, thank you. I've just seen that our final speaker has joined us. Marco, thank you for joining us. I know you had some VPN issues. Do you want to just quickly give us an introduction into who you are and what you're doing at SyncSwap?
Hello, everyone. We're SyncSwap, and SyncSwap is a Uniswap-like protocol, and on zkSync. And
thank you very much for telling us that. So from what you just said, Lucas, I think we should go into our next question. And so we're talking about layer 222 a lot. zkSync 2.0 is going to come out very soon, in less than 100 days. Everyone's getting very excited about it, but it's still pretty new to everyone. If you went to someone on the street and said, hey, it's L222, people wouldn't have an idea what you're talking about. So if you're trying to onboard someone into the space and get them onto zkSync who has very little knowledge of crypto, how would you go about it? And I think, Matthew, you'll be the best person to answer this question first, because self-custody is very important. And that's the route we need to get people on before they start playing around with it.
Cool. I think best person to talk about it is stretching it slightly, but I'll say how we see it at Argent. And that's, firstly, if you take a step back, why are we so focused on Ethereum? It's because of the community, the properties that decentralization brings in terms of being permissionless, resilient. If we really want something, we really believe crypto could change, the future of money and internet, you need the strongest foundations possible. So it just makes a ton of sense for that to be on Ethereum. But when we started building on Ethereum in like late 2017, 2018, gas wasn't really an issue. We actually paid for everyone's transactions in Argent. People didn't even see gas fees at all. But clearly in the last couple of years, the costs have risen exponentially and actually have priced out most users. As I'm sure everyone knows, it was costing a kind of couple $100 to make a simple transfer. So that really only makes sense if you're a whale or you're engaging in something so speculative that you hope to sort of 10x that. It's not really something that is going to be what the future internet is built on. So for us, we began looking into scalability solutions really early, whether it's alternative blockchains, sidechains, layer twos. We quickly ruled out a bunch of options because alternative blockchains were using kind of new economic models and consensus methods that we thought sacrificed properties. Sidechains, again, we thought sacrificed some of the key properties of crypto. They didn't offer the same security. But layer twos did actually offer a really interesting combination where you benefit from Ethereum security, but by moving a lot of the activity to a different layer, you reduce that computational load and make everything much, much cheaper. So then the choice there was optimistic rollups or zk rollups, and we preferred zk rollups for the kind of unlimited scale, the no withdrawal periods that you have. But then particularly because zkSync basically can give anyone all the scale they would want, while protecting security and meaning that you can exit whenever you want, but also having this thing, account abstraction that Anthony's already touched on, natively integrated at the start. So for us, that means that you can give people an experience that is fast, super cheap, and feels much, much more like a kind of Web 2 experience. So no seed phrase, batch transactions, so everything takes many fewer steps. So it really, begins to open up crypto to a totally different new audience. So I think that's the thing that we are particularly excited about with zkSync is we can finally move crypto into much more mainstream adoption. And when we do that, I think we'll help people create new types of applications on zkSync that bring new use cases that weren't possible in crypto before, and that will add a lot more impact to people around.
Great answer. I think you touched on some really key points there about how we can actually bring the internet of money to the masses, because sidechains just don't work and they won't scale. And account abstraction is necessary to break down so many of these hurdles that we see within crypto. And I think it'll be really interesting to get that perspective. So Minako, how do you get someone into crypto? So someone's into crypto, they're interested in crypto, they want to play around with things. How do you bring them over to zkSync?
I think there is a very good repo on GitHub called OSM Layer 2, and they have plenty of tutorial and documentation on the GitHub repo. So I recommended that documentation very, very, very much. And as the frontier of Ethereum, zkSync has a substantial and active community with very kind members and moderators willing to help others. So I also would recommend that you to join the zkSync Discord. There are many helpful resources to learn about zkSync and other layer 2 solutions of the ecosystem, and enthusiastic volunteers want to share in the piece of knowledge. So I would say that the zkSync community is having for beginners, and I believe you will learn a lot from there.
Thank you for that. I'm sure Anthony's very happy to hear that the zkSync community is very welcoming, very kind and open, and helping people get into the space. And there's really good documentation to bring people on board. And that leads really nicely into this next question on what resources are out there that any of the speakers here would find interesting about the layer 2 space. So this could be a podcast that you listen to and you found really interesting. It could be Vitalik's latest blog post on zk EVMs. There's quite a few things out there, but if you could recommend one thing, and I'm going to leave this open, what could you recommend to people listening to the space to learn more about the layer 2 space?
I could jump in there. Yeah, obviously the blog post at Vitalik, but today is an excellent starting point if anyone hasn't thought deeply about this topic before. Really appreciate the call out for our Discord. This is definitely something that if you're interested in this space, we have a very active Discord, as has been mentioned. Tons of resources there as well. So people will be very happy to help you navigate the ZK space if you have questions. One thing I would say is really going to be, I think, interesting today, but get more interesting over time, is for us, when we're thinking about how do we make a good developer experience, there's really no substitute for excellent tutorials. But we really would love it for developers to come, play with zkSync, deploy some contracts, give us feedback, and really start to feel about what it looks like to work with the system, like how easy it is to work with the system. We are growing our product team pretty aggressively at the moment, and in the coming 2-3 months, as we march towards mainnet, there's going to be a huge improvement to the number of tutorials, the variety of tutorials we have out there. So yeah, if you're a developer, if you're interested in building in this space, I would say keep an eye on the tutorials that we have, and hopefully there'll be something there that you find useful, and yeah, some inspirations for some fun projects to deploy.
Fantastic. Does anyone else have any recommendations for podcasts, newsletters, articles that they want to share?
Yeah,
I think sorry.
Sure. Go ahead, Matthew.
Sorry, so I think it would be professionally negligent of me if I didn't say that downloading Argent is the easiest way to get involved in zkSync and then start exploring these amazing projects. So as soon as zkSync 2 goes live, we will be there and giving people access to all the projects that emerge on it.
Yeah, there are good directories out there. I think one was zkrollups.xyz, or you can look at the projects. I think they do a pretty good job of curating projects that are launching or already are launching on ZK or rollups. And of course, if you're interested in the TVL and all those things, you can go to l2bit.com, right? So you can read about TVLs and learn more about the technology. And if you're really interested in going deep into ZK rollups, the podcast is definitely a zero knowledge podcast, right? So they really go deep on the different topics and so on. So those are some of the resources.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing. I think some of those people you referenced are actually in this Twitter space, so I'm sure they're very happy to hear that you're speaking very highly about them. Matthew, earlier you spoke a lot about account abstraction, what this enables. Anthony spoke about this as well. But I'd love to hear your perspective on this, Matthew, on why do you think account abstraction matters so much to zkSync and Argent specifically?
Sure. So as Anthony mentioned, the alternative, which is what you see on layer 1 today, is that basically each wallet by default is is an EOA, and that means that it has a seed phrase controlling it. And what we've seen again and again and again is that even people who have been in crypto for a long time and highly technical, seed phrases make it all too easy to make one small mistake and you lose everything, or someone else finds it, you lose everything. You click, we've seen so many times in the NFT community, people in a random Discord, it's late, they're tired, they get a question from some kind of support, they're not thinking properly, even though, if they reflected, they would know not to click on a certain link, and they click that link and everything is gone. So the reason I mention that is because with account abstraction, each account can become a contract account, and you can add new functionality without having to have each wallet as a custodian. So with account abstraction and every wallet being a contract account, you can do things like social recovery, which is what we have built at Argent, where you can identify other accounts, whether it's a hardware wallet or a person or a MetaMask, to help you recover your account if you lose your phone, or to help you even approve large transactions. So we think account abstraction can be hugely important for security. But there's also important usability benefits as well. So I mentioned one earlier with transaction batching. So you can actually, through a feature called multi-call, you can kind of shrink a lot of different steps into one. So that's kind of providing a sort of one-click experience in crypto. A big one for gaming, which is getting increasingly popular with emerging games on ZK rollups, are session keys. So that means that, again, instead of having to approve everything hundreds of times, you can just kind of be, I'm not sure what the technical term would be, signed in or whatever for a while. So again, it's just reducing the friction there. And there's other ways to reduce friction, like being able to pay fees in different tokens, and a whole bunch more. So really it's a kind of breakthrough in usability and security, and it will allow people to create new types of experiences that weren't possible in crypto before. And through those new experiences, we think it will be really important to welcoming a kind of a wider audience into crypto.
There's also a really good video of one of our co-founders, Julian, talking about account abstraction. So if you want to listen a bit more about it and why it's so interesting, you should give that a listen. And we've talked a lot about the amazing things that zkSync enables and all the great things to look forward to. But I'm really curious, especially after Vitalik's post earlier today about zk EVMs. Anthony, what are some of the main challenges of building a zk EVM?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, obviously, like anyone who's thought about this for even 5 minutes would realize no secret this is a hard problem to solve. Multiple teams, multiple excellent teams are trying to solve this problem, taking different approaches. But yeah, there's like layers to this. For us, I think there's a few that I would probably highlight. One of which is, for us, we're really keen to build a system in public, right? We really want feedback from the community. We want it to be a system that people can actually engage with. So the questions were, how do we build the minimal version of the system that's architected correctly, that's built in a way that it sets us up to do what we want to do in the fullness of time with respect to scaling, Ethereum, not built as a sort of pile of tech debt that's just like pushed over the finish line. But how do we build the minimal version of that system? So there's multiple technical rabbit holes across the space, right? From the compiler, from the cryptography, from the architecture and the system infrastructure. So for us, it was a question of bringing a lot of expertise together, giving these experts room to really define like what it is important for their part of the system, what's important, what's the minimal version of the system that will work, and then how do we kind of weave together efforts from across this disparate team to build this one platform and build it in a way where it's coming in with the design that we want. It's coming in quickly so that we can get it into the hands of our users. It's coming in secure because obviously this is going to be a platform that secures value, and security is phenomenally important. So it's a coordination problem where you've got lots of real interesting technical challenges to solve, but you're solving them as you kind of weave this thing together from multiple disparate disciplines. The complexity is definitely a challenge. It takes time to onboard a new engineer. We've just talked about for somebody coming into the space, how do you ramp up? This is a real challenge. If someone's joining from Google or Microsoft or a bank, wherever it happens to be, as a software engineer, it takes time to really understand the protocol and get to a point where you can make informed, opinionated decisions about the right decision for whatever circumstance it is. So yeah, in terms of the challenge, this is a serious engineering challenge. It's a serious design challenge, and for us, we are attempting to define the MVP. This is a thing that we've been public roadmap we released recently is a representation roadmap that we've been working on for months, and we're nearly there. And once we go live, this is we're calling it alpha. It is an alpha. There's a huge amount of other things we want to do to get the system to where it will be in the fullness of time. Lots of optimizations, lots of new features. So for us, it's a question of how do you make the principal engineering decision to build a platform that you want to give to people and you're happy with the structure of, but doing it in a way where you're moving quickly and you're trying to get this thing out there.
I mean, with complexity comes excitement, and it seems like it's just so much excitement with being able to solve these challenges and actually provide is like the backbone of bringing the internet of money to people. It's really exciting stuff. And I think we're nearly up for time, and we're only going to do about half an hour today. But if you're keen to do another space in the future, please let us know, and we'll be happy to arrange it. And so before we wrap up, I want to ask a question to everyone, and it's what are you working on or building on right now that would get our audience excited about the future of zkSync 2.0? Dare I say this is an alpha leak? Minako, do you want to go first?
Yes. We built a sync swap with user-friendly in mind, aiming to bring easy-to-use DeFi and more people and help method of adoption of Ethereum and Web3. There is some exciting news to come for sync swap. We plan to release our roadmap to the mainnet in 1 or 2 weeks and complete the documentation. And there is also a new auction feature currently in development and will live on our testnet very soon.
That's very exciting. I'm sure people who are using SyncSwap are very excited to hear about these developments and are looking forward to looking at your roadmap. Lucas, do you want to share anything?
Yeah, I think to bring on the next 100 million or billion users to NFTs, it definitely has to be on L2, on zkSync, zk rollups, right? So I think for us, we're very, very excited about this, and we're really in the early days. So for us, we are live on a zkSync 2.0 testnet. So if you go to minsquare.io, switch to zkSync, you can start playing around, minting, buying and selling, making offer, and so on. So basically the full functionality of a marketplace to get the experience. And of course, we're also working closely with the zkSync team. They announced the roadmap towards mainnet. We want to be sure that we're ready for users when the mainnet comes. So if you're building games or your NFT creators thinking about launching on zkSync 2.0, feel free to reach out to us, DM us, and we'll help you all.
Fantastic. I agree that NFTs are definitely a route to like onboarding people onto crypto. We're seeing more and more people use NFTs, so it'll be really exciting to see how Mint Square develops. Anthony, we know that zkSync 2.0 is going to be live in less than 100 days, but is there anything else that you'd like to share?
Yeah, so, firstly, if any of these problems sound interesting to you and you want to come talk, you can learn a lot more by sending an application in, come working here. There's a million things that I would love to talk about that, we're working on for the next few months and years. So, yeah, huge amount of our engineering effort, obviously, focused into mainnet, but we're also thinking about the future of the system and really investing time, engineering time in the future of the system. So lots of things to come. I won't say too much, except one little tease, I guess, is if you think about the footprint of version 2 on Ethereum, I mean, really, it's smart contracts, right? And we're also building an execution environment in which you can run smart contracts. So I think if you think about like this recursive model of it, there's some really interesting things that we're exploring, some interesting ideas that we are fleshing out. And yeah, could be an extremely powerful platform for scaling and customization.
All very exciting stuff. And Matthew, I'll leave with you. Anything you want to share about the Argent side of things?
Yeah, so I think for people who always say that private key management is what's holding back the adoption of crypto, I think we'll see with zkSync 2 and what we're building for it that actually we're much, much closer to a sort of a Revolut or Robinhood or Venmo style experience for self-custody than people think. And one thing we're particularly excited about for zkSync V2 is the work we've been doing to make login with dApps much more seamless. So that's something we'll be sharing a lot more in the coming weeks.
And do you not have an alpha leak from the Argent side of things?
What, the WEN token? No.
No, that's not happening. We know that.
We are, like Anthony, we're hiring for a bunch of different roles. So if you're interested in working with us, please do get in touch. And if you're building an amazing dApp on zkSync 2, please also get in touch. We'd love to integrate with you and help people enjoy you to the fullest. Yeah,
we'll make sure that dApp interaction is seamless on zkSync and it's going to be very, very good. We're going to be finishing up now, but speakers, is there anything else that you want to say or discuss before we end the space?
I guess just from the zkSync side, please go try it out. Give us feedback. We'd love to hear from you and love to see you in the Discord.
Fantastic. And on that note, thank you so much for joining our Twitter space where we talked about zkSync 2.0 and some of the exciting things going on and why we're so excited about it. If you really like this Twitter space, please let us know and we'll do some more of these in the future and we'll bring other DApps into the space. And again, thank you so much for tuning in. There will be links and a recap later on in the week, or next week, I should say, with all the information. So if you want to just dip in and out of the space, in case you missed anything, you'll have all that information available to you. So thank you for tuning in. And see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.